Hi guys, it's IRENE'S Braids and I am back with another video. So let's just jump right into it. So today I'll be doing a tutorial on summer boho knotless in the color 27. So I'm so excited to show you guys this video because this will be a step-by-step tutorial on how you can also achieve this look. So I went ahead and started sectioning off my client's hair. I'm taking my time to part out her parts so that way they are nice and clean. So she had a total of 4 braids exactly for the back of her nape. Sometimes you may need to do 4 to 5 depending on the head size. And there are times where I may have had a client whose head may have been a little fuller and I've needed to do 6 braids in the back. So my goal is a small medium type of parting in a small medium braid. So I went ahead and started adding in the hair, and I'm adding in very small pieces so that way the braid isn't too thick because I would like to keep that braid size more on the small size frame versus too medium. So what I like to do is I like to razor off the hair so that way we can shorten up the hair for the bob look. I went ahead and make sure to use a small perm rod, and I'm going to roll that on tightly. And as I roll that on tightly, you want to twist and bend your hands so that way the hair is rolled on nicely and it makes a nice curl. Go ahead and wrap that hair around that rod a couple of times until you reach the tip, and then wrap the end piece of the perm rod between 2 to 3 times so that way that it stays in place. Sometimes the rods can, the hair can unravel from the rod. So if you wrap that black um, rubber part of the perm rod 2 to 3 times, it will stay intact. All right, guys. So tip number 2. When you're doing your boho bob, you don't need to add any human or synthetic hair, whichever your preference is. You don't need to add any curly hair to the back of your bob. And the reason being is because it's one, going to save you hair. And then two, it's really no need to have the hair to the back of the nape, only because it's just going to get tangled and in the way. So it's really easier for your client to manage this style if you don't add any curly pieces to the couple, I want to say at least the first 2 to 3 rows, depending on the length that you're going for. So we didn't add any curly hair until we got way above her ears. So I want to say row 4 is where we started adding in the boho pieces, but definitely you don't need to add in the pieces too soon. Mind you, I'm just giving you what I've done on this particular client. Every client is different because everyone's head size is different. So it may require a different step. So with this particular client, it was no need for me to add any curly hair to her bob until I reached row 4. Now, with that being said, with all of my clients, I do not add any curly pieces to the back of their heads either, but the rows is where it differs. If it's going to be row 4 or 5, or it may be 4 or 3. So it just depends. So I like doing this method, and I hope that that tip will be useful for you as well. So when you're doing this, bob, you also want to make sure that as you're parting out your parts, that the row above your bottom row, you want to make sure that that braid will be resting in between the braids underneath. Because what that does is it allows it to have a fullness without having too much braiding hair and too many braids. I hope that that makes sense. And if you are following this video so that way you can achieve this bob look, and you are so far understanding exactly what I am saying, go ahead and drop some comments in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. So as you can see here, I started off by parting her natural hair to 3 sections, and then I went ahead and added in a piece of the braiding hair. And with the braiding hair, as you can see, I am not adding too thick of a piece of braiding hair because I would like for the braids to lie naturally. And I would like for them to rest naturally in her head so that way it's not too bulky. All right, so again, I am taking my right hand and separating her hair into 3 sections. I'm going to stop adding a small piece of braiding hair in between my index and thumb fingers. I'm going to braid that in, and then after I braid that in between 2 to 3 times, I'm going to stop, add in my second piece of braiding hair in between my index and thumb finger, braid that in between 2 to 3 times, and then I'm going to stop and add in my third piece of braiding hair. And I'm going to braid that in between 2 to 3 times as well. And I'm going to continue to braid that down. So now that I have that braided down, let's get to the fun part. So as you guys can see here, tip number 3. So as you guys can see here, I am going to start rodding all of the braids. So I've already trimmed off the braiding hair that I don't need. So for example, here is one of the braids. I am rodding that. You see how I'm twisting that hair around that rod? That is what you need to do. Twist the hair around that rod and then take that stretchy rubber part of that rod and wrap that around between 2 to 3 times. And I promise you that hair is going to stay in place. And the reason why you want to wrap it so tight like that is because I trimmed that hair off and sometimes it won't stay in place because I trimmed it. So I'm using my handy dandy Aquarius coffee mug. So this coffee mug gets the job done. I highly recommend that you use a coffee mug as well. You know what? I've been using a coffee mug since back in the days. So I've always used a coffee mug. I'm not sure what you guys may use to dip your braids with, but the coffee mug is the way to go. That way your hands don't get burned, and you just gotta be careful making sure you don't burn your client's ears or anything like that because it is a hot glass cup. So you just gotta be careful with that. But other than that, I love using the coffee mug. All right, you guys. So I started recording off camera, but I'm going to show you guys exactly what I've been doing off camera. So that way I am moving at a fast pace and I'm not spending too much time recording and not enough time braiding. So behind the camera, what I've been doing is I have already completed the bottom rows and now I am starting off by adding in the curly pieces. So in this clip, we're going to go over how many pieces of curly hair that you want to add, how many rows we have, and things of that nature. So first, let's just start off with starting our knotless braid. As you guys know, I like to apply the braid gel, make sure that it's rubbed in there very well. And if you remember what I said before, when I'm doing my parting, I like to make sure that the braid that I'm going to start is going to be able to rest in between the braids below it. So here is a piece of curly hair that I have pulled. Here is a piece of braiding hair that I have pulled. Ideally, this is the size that you would that I would recommend that you stick with as well. Sometimes you may need to thicken up that curly hair. It just depends. So I'm starting off by braiding her natural hair. By parting her natural hair into 3 sections. I apply a small piece of braiding hair in between my index and thumb finger. And now I am adding the curl. Now, the reason why I add that curl first as I go up higher is because that curl is going to create some fullness. So that is why I add the curl so high up. So now that I've added in a third piece of braiding hair, I am going to stop and I'm going to add in my second curl. But you see how I add that curl into the opposite side of my client's braid? That is what you want to do as well. You want to swap those curls left and right, so that way it has a nice even amount of curls on each side. And as you can see, as I'm adding in my curls, there are some pieces of the 27 human hair that will be sticking out. So now that I'm going to start my next braid, I'm going to show you guys what I mean when I say to part your braid, to part the section of hair a little off so that way that it can rest in between the braids below it. So this is kind of what I mean. You see how this parting that I did is a little off from where the parting is below it. I do that intentionally because I like for the braids to be able to create a fullness without necessarily adding too much braiding hair or too many braids. So this is a great way to do it, and I recommend that you try this method. Okay, guys, so I went ahead and slowed this clip down just so that way you can see it really good. So I went ahead and sectioned off her natural hair into 3 sections. I applied in a piece of the braiding hair in between my index and thumb finger, and I'm going to go ahead and braid that in. And I braid that in between 2 to 3 times, and maybe 4. It just depends on how many times I feel that I need to grip it in there, so that way it's secure. So I'm adding in that curly piece of hair immediately after I secure in that braiding hair. Again, I add the curly hair in higher up because I would like to create a fullness to her row of braids. Now, you want to add in your second piece to the opposite side of what you did when you started off adding in that first piece of curly hair. And that's going to help create some fullness to your bob. As you can see, I am adding in the curly pieces on opposite sides. So now we have a total of 4 pieces of curly hair. So each braid should have a total of 4 pieces of curly hair. Now you can add 5 if you want a fuller bob, and you want to make sure that you spread them out evenly so that way that 5th piece of curly hair or 4th piece of curly hair will create that length. I do not recommend that you add the curls too far down if you do not want to bob past your shoulders. And I really feel like if you want the boho bob look, then you should probably stick with the amount of curls that I added in on my client, and you want to add those curls a little higher up, because the most you should be doing when this is all said and done is trimming. That's it. So as you can see here, I am unraveling her curly pieces, and I'm going to show you guys tip number 4. Are we at tip number 4? Or are we at tip number 5? I have not been keeping up, you guys, as I'm doing this voiceover. But here's the next tip. So you see how that hair is really straight at the bottoms? You want to snip that off of every piece of braid. Now we know it's not her natural hair because we braided well past her natural hair. So we know we're not clipping it. We're just clipping off that color 27 where it ends pretty straight. You see that? You see how it's ending pretty straight right there? Get rid of that. We don't need that. We don't want to see that. And if you do your bobs like this, this is what is going to give it that look. So now that I've cleaned up the back, I am now going to re-rod. I'm going to continue to rod the rest of her braids. And this is where I start to double my braids up as I rod. And I do it like this because it just saves time. And I just keep a very, very tight curl as I rod. So that way, even though I'm doubling them up, it will get a very nice curl no matter what. Oh, and another tip, you guys. Tip number 6. Because I think we're at 6, y'all. I have not been keeping up. Okay, so when you're doing your hot water with the kettle, you want to make sure that you add some cool water to your coffee mug first, and then add in the hot water from the kettle. You never, ever, ever want to pour the boiling water of hot water from your kettle into your mug and just start dipping your client's hair, because you don't want to cause any heat damage. So definitely add you some cool water to your mug. I would want to say at least, I don't want to say half the cup, but add some cool water to it, enough to where it's not too hot. It cannot be excruciating hot, you guys. But then you also don't want the water to be too warm or too lukewarm, because then your perm rods will not keep a curl, and the curly pieces will definitely they won't take, for sure. They will not take. I'm just now realizing that I have done a whole tutorial for you guys with no music, so it's so much to gain from this video, and I haven't felt the need to put music on yet because I have so much to say. All right, so I went ahead and completed up those edges, and now we are going to finish off our last 4 rows, you guys. We're almost there. So as you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and pre-part out her parts so I can see exactly how to size them up so that way they make sense. So she'll be able to style this in a side part or a middle part. So that's why I'm giving her a total of 4 rows at the top, so that way we can have a little fun with these. So as you can see, again, I'm adding in that curly piece of hair to the top, so that way it falls nicely in between the rows below and it creates that fullness. All right, you guys, so the next 2 tips are so important. So to finish off the middle part, you want to make sure your middle part is perfect. And so my tip for creating the best middle part ever is to start from the nose up. So you literally want to stand in front of your client, and you want to take the end tail of your rat tail comb, and you want to use that to part up. So start with their nose and just kind of visualize parting in a straight line. And you will have to go over that part at least between, I know I go over about 5 times. I'm not even going front, about 5 times, y'all. I'm like the part queen. I am. So that's how you're going to achieve your middle part. So the next 2 more tips, you want to add some foam. I prefer the setting foam because it doesn't have alcohol in it. And then also I finish it off with the Got to Be gel. Listen, y'all, if you don't do nothing else, Got to Be gel is the truth. You definitely want to add Got to Be gel to your curls. It does not flake up. It does not. You could add some Got to Be gel. This is for my girls who don't really have a lot of time to be in the mirror daily trying to, fix curls. The Got to Be gel will hold you for at least a week and maybe two. And my clients are able to wash their bohos. I'm not sure about y'all, but we use human hair. And the Empire human hair is definitely that girl. And we're able to wash the boho hair. And my clients are literally wearing their bohos for at least 9 to 10 weeks. I kid you not. I'm also going to make a video showing you guys one of my clients who washes her boho because I normally take hers down for her. So I'm gonna do a clip and I'm gonna show y'all exactly what I'm saying. She keeps them in for between 10 to 8 weeks, and she washes them and everything. She swims in them, all of that good stuff. So yeah. And then how she takes care of them. You know what? I'm gonna do a whole video for you guys. I'm gonna do a whole video for you guys. I'm gonna show you how we care for them. I'm gonna show you guys how she sleeps. I'm gonna show you guys how we take them down, all that good stuff. So stay tuned for that video. But other than that, hey y'all, look at my girl. She looks so cute. And when I tell you this 27 fits her, it fits her. It is definitely her color. It looks so good. It came out beautifully. And if you like this video, make sure to thumbs up this video. If you enjoyed the tips that I gave, thumbs up this video. And if you have any great feedback for me, drop it in the comment section. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, guys.